second straight week with a game in London. We've got who are really just going to become the London Jaguars playing against the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
We've got the line at 5.5 or 6, with the Bills being favorites, depending on where you shop around at. And total set at over under 48.5. So, Gage, what are your first thoughts on this game?
So if you follow us on Twitter, you know that we only had one official play last week, and it was these Jaguars in London who got the job done for us. Pretty much what we expected with the inexperienced Ritter there, and a team that is experienced with the London scene and Wembley Stadium and everything that goes on over there. So we like the Jags again, or at least I like the Jags again this week as well, especially if you're going to give them a touchdown. You're going to give them almost that full score there at 6 points. I really do lean into them here. The Bills, I think we talked about it just before. I think this is a little bit of a letdown spot for them, with them, whooping up on the Dolphins like that last week.
And it's a third straight game that they rolled, because they rolled the Commanders and the Raiders.
Right. And
it's very tough in a one-score league to just roll that many teams in a row.
Love that you bring that up, that they lost the first game of the year and they've won 3 in a row. They're really on top of the world right now, you would imagine. So going across seas to a Jags team that's probably, I don't know if they're coming home or not, but, they're comfortable with where they're at, who's really playing well. We saw Ridley get back in the end zone.
Love that.
Saw Lawrence play well. Saw this defense play really well. Being able to shut down Atlanta, really not giving up much of anything to those guys. Bijan having to do absolutely creative mode player stuff to even get anything going for them. So do like the Jags here. What do you think? Do you think the Bills roll again?
I can't bet on the Bills to roll again. I could maybe roll Bills money line and a little 2 or 3 team money line. But with the Jags being 2-2, and their whole division's 2-2.
Yeah.
So maybe they thought they were going to have a little bit easier time, but we've seen the Colts play well, Texans play well, and seen the Titans play well in stretches.
Right.
This becomes a pretty important game for them.
Yeah, and a game that they think that if you're going to play the Bills, if you get them off of a win like that and you get them in a place that you're comfortable and they're not, this is about as good of a spot as you can hope to play, as a Jaguar.
Yeah. Especially, the Jags were one of the last 4 teams left in the AFC last year. So even though the Bills would be at the top of our AFC power ratings, or maybe the Chiefs would, the Jags got to think they're on that level. They have not played to that level. But I think this is a really good spot, especially if you get the 6 number. If you get the 5.5, it's a little more scary. But if you can get that 6, I really like it.
Yeah, I think that'll definitely be on our list here. Shop around, look and see. Even if it's early in the week, if you can get that 6, go ahead and place it, because I see this line moving towards the Jags, especially since they probably won't get to get that 7 number anyway.
And then the only other thought on this game would be, since it's over in London, you get kind of a lot more wind typically. I would definitely look at that over under 48.5. Check that weather report, because if we get a little more wind, we could get some more runs, we could get some missed field goals, and you could see like a 27, probably like a 24-20, something like that.
Yeah.
And hit that under.
I like the under here as well. I think both of these defenses are very solid. And like you said, get a little bit of running the football. The Jags are a little bit more of a running football team than most people like to think.
Yeah.
They give the ball to ETN quite a bit, and Lawrence does his fair share of running too. So 7 touchdowns in the NFL is a lot with that 49 number. So I do like the under here, and I think I lean Jags with the +6 as well.
Yep. So, but check our card on Sunday. We're 1-0 on our London plays. See if we go to 2-0, or maybe even have 2 plays in this game. All right, another 1 p.m. game here. We have the 1-3 New York Football Giants going into Miami to play the 3-1 Dolphins. This line at the beginning of the week was about 9.5. It jumped up to 11 after that awful display on Monday Night Football by the Giants. We got total over under 49 or 50, depending on where you get it. So, Gage, what are your thoughts on this game?
So, yeah, the Giants are 1-3. So, records don't necessarily indicate it, but as of right now today, I think they're probably the worst team in football for me. I think that was one of the worst games I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes last night between the Seahawks and the Giants. Just really sloppy. The Giants look horrible with no Saquon. They're doing committing stupid penalties, running into the punters, just left and right, just anything they can do to lose games. And against this team, the Dolphins, who, probably got embarrassed a little bit last week at home against a team that they really wanted to beat in a division game, and really they just got smoked. What was it, 48-20?
Yep.
28-point loss there. So they're going to be coming in with a vengeance. And I think this is at Miami as well. So Giants going to Miami. I really don't think that they have much to really, say get in the way of the Dolphins here. I think the Dolphins roll here, but I don't love the numbers enough to be able to play them.
Completely agree with you. We talk about ugly bets on here. I'm not sure I'm buying into the plus 11 as an ugly bet that I want to make.
Yeah. We talked about that last week with the Giants being a really ugly spot, that we saw that the number kind of screamed Giants, but we really couldn't lean on it, and like we saw, they just couldn't deliver.
Two different Giants stats that just kind of hurt you to think about. Starting the season down 60-0 over the first 6 quarters.
Yeah.
They've also scored 3 points in 2 home games. 3 points, man.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, that Cowboys defense is nasty.
And they don't have Saquon.
Seattle's a little better on defense. 3 points at home is rough.
Yeah.
So with this one too, as much as the Tease the League boy is like a good teaser, we're definitely not going Giants plus 18 because they've already shown they can lose by 40. And I don't like Fins -4 because you're missing out on that 3 number.
Yeah.
If you're gonna tease something, you want to get as many key numbers as you can.
Yeah.
So this one,
maybe a Giants total team under.
Yeah, especially the first half, because we saw them score 0 points in the first half against the Cowboys, 0 against the Cardinals. Was it 7 or 10 against the 49ers?
Yeah, I'm not sure. And then it wasn't much last night either.
Wasn't much last night either. So we really haven't seen them start off hot. So that would probably be a decent look.
Yeah, maybe a 7.5. If you could get a 10 number, 8.5 for sure. 8.5 to 10, I think is a lock. 7.5, I honestly don't hate either.
So probably won't really be a bet from us. Maybe some Dolphins running backs overs, just because the Giants are a middle of the pack run defense and the Dolphins game script will be winning.
Yeah.
But other than that, not really anything on this game. All right, another 1 p.m. game. We have the New Orleans Saints heading into New England to play the Pats, who are fresh off of just getting spanked out in Dallas. We've got the Pats as 1.5 point favorites. And then we've got this total over under 40.5. So, Gage, do you have any thoughts on this, banger of a game?
Pats really looked bad last week in Dallas. Never really seen a quarterback get as shook as I saw Mac Jones. He was missing guys that were wide open by 5 and 6 feet. Like, just a D-line that was completely in somebody's head. The Patriots are not built to play from behind.
Not at all.
They're just really struggling on offense to get much going when it comes in terms of getting the ball down the field and trying to have chunk plays. They're more of a grind-you-out type team with a solid defense. And then with the Saints here, another team that's trying to put it all together, injury with their quarterback. Kamara comes back last week and looks really solid. Not bad. I don't really think I'll have a play in this game. I'll probably just kind of keep this as a measuring stick kind of game and see where both teams of these guys are still kind of at. I don't have a great feel on either one of these teams. What are you thinking?
So with that total being over 40.5, miss out on the 41 makes me not want to take it. Plus, we're going to see Christian Gonzalez probably out and Matthew Judon definitely out.
Oh, wow.
Bicep injury. He's done for the year, which hopefully he'll be able to come back next year because playing some really good ball for a bad Pats team.
He played. That was the play Judon got hurt with like 5 minutes to go in the Cowboy game.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that. And then they asked a million questions about taking Mac Jones out in the third quarter, and then, wow, I didn't even realize that. That's horrible news.
So for this one, for me, with that total over under 40.5, I'd probably feel pretty good about a Saints teaser.
Yeah.
Really not going to bet this game any other way. If for some reason that total goes up, maybe I take it, but with 2 defensive starters for the Pats missing. And like you said, kind of a measuring stick game. Do we see the Pats bounce back from a really bad loss and maybe save their season? And do we see the Saints bounce back from a division loss? Be interesting to see. Mainly see it on Red Zone, but no actual real plays here unless we take Saints in a teaser. All right, we got another 1 p.m. game. We've got an AFC North matchup. We've got the Ravens heading into Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. The Ravens are going to be 4-point road favorites. Total started 41-40.5. So already moved down to 38.5. So Gage, what are your thoughts on this game?
At this point, with this Steelers offense, I really don't know what to say. I feel like Mike Tomlin and this defense to be able to even keep these guys head above water is insane. Matt Canada just doing a rough job out there. Kenny Pickett not looking great, but he's also not helping. Just some crazy numbers coming out of there. I think since he's taken over, every other team in the league has gotten 400 yards at least. Total yards at least 4 times, and Matt Canada and the Pittsburgh Steelers haven't done it yet. Yeah. They don't really scare anybody offensively, and this Ravens team is a team that's no joke. But with it being a division game in Pittsburgh, 4 points is a lot for Baltimore to cover. We can see that definitely being a close game because, like I said, Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin and that defense always find a way to be in a game. But you don't really see them winning close games late, and you don't really see them winning a shootout. So it's hard to find very many scenarios to get them wins this year. And against a tough division rival, I think the Ravens probably get the job done here, but it should be a tight game.
Yeah, completely agree. I think the Ravens win. Can't bet it because we've already seen the Steelers play terrible against the 49ers and then win a division game against the Browns. So we don't want to bet that again, watching them play bad against the Texans and now having a division game against the Ravens.
Right.
On your Matt Canada stuff, man, I didn't even realize that since he's taken over, they've had more turnovers in the first quarter than touchdowns.
And that's the first quarter. That's when these are these plays that are scripted. These are we talk about not freaking out when a team that you think is going to win goes down on the first drive because that's the team's scripted plays, and you expect these teams to look better in the first quarter than they do once the defense settles in.
Yeah. So whether it's because they're not doing a good enough job scouting what the defense is playing, and maybe they're not using their talent correctly, because you've got some talent. We see Pickens have some great games. Love Freiermuth and the tight end spot.
Yeah, their usage of Pickens has been pretty. Yeah. And I was happy to see Najee played really well last week. Najee was a really good bounce back performance.
And you've got Jalen Warren, who's exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, not going to play this game straight up either way. Really don't even like the teaser. If we would have been on the under earlier in the week when you could have got 41-40, kind of like it there.
Definitely.
38's a little scary here, but just interested to see, what this, if the Steelers can bounce back again, if the Ravens can extend it. One last Matt Canada note. Steelers are 1-15 with him as the OC if the other team scores 22 points. It's just rough because we're in a little more of an offensive league.
Oh, absolutely.
So getting to 22 is not that crazy, and meaning that's just an automatic loss is just not good enough.
And these guys have a defense. These guys have playmakers like Minka Fitzpatrick and T.J. Watt on a defense to where if they could get a little bit of help, obviously this Pittsburgh team is always going to be, they're never going to be a bottom of the barrel team just because that franchise is better than that, but they could always be solid contenders if he could just get some points on the board.
Yeah, and like I said, we love the Ravens bounce back last week after getting their loss at Indy. We did spend more time on the Steelers because they're kind of the interesting team to talk about, and they've got to make a change with this offense.
Yeah, we love the Ravens, but it's almost same old every year. They get injured, they get beat up, they fight hard, and they win football games. They're just a really solid, tough team with a really exciting quarterback in Lamar Jackson who, is tough for anybody to contain, and they're always going to be in the football game. So you kind of know what you're getting with Baltimore right now.
Yep. All right, another 1 p.m. game. We've got the 0-4 Panthers heading into Detroit to play the Lions. This line has moved up to 9. Was 8.5 earlier in the week when we got a little teaser in. We'll talk about that a little later. And total over under 44.5. So Gage, what are your first thoughts on this game?
Yeah, -9 seems like a lot here. We do like the Lions. We like the trajectory they're going in. But with against a winless team that is going to be fighting tooth and nail to get their first win, pulling out all the stops. You always see trick plays and all these types of things out of winless teams. 9 points is going to be tough to cover for Detroit. We'd like to see Bryce Young grow a little bit more. I like what I'm seeing out of Bryce Young. I think C.J. Stroud's obviously the clear rookie right now that's playing the best, but I really don't mind what I'm seeing out of Bryce. He seems really poised in the pocket. Seems like he's makes quick decisions, and he's kind of he's really accurate with the ball. We haven't, like I've talked about this with a lot of teams. They're not pressing it down the field like we would like to see, but with the intermediate throws, he's really been accurate. I would kind of lean the Panthers +9 here in a horrible, ugly spot, but I probably won't be playing it. What are you kind of thinking here?
So kind of love what you mentioned about Bryce Young, like playing, not playing bad for a rookie. We've just kind of seen C.J. Stroud like doing stuff we haven't seen since Cam Newton, rookie-wise. And honestly, with the Lions, with them having Jameson Williams back, like that's kind of an exciting point. I'd like to talk about a little more of the excitement in this game than I do aside, because that 9, I don't love at all.
Yeah, definitely want to see what Jameson's going to do. That big body with all that speed, would love to see what he's going to bring to this offense that is already pretty crisp.
Yeah, and then love what you mentioned about 0-14 kind of trying all the tricks. Is we got to remember this is Frank Wright getting hired when they did really well under Steve Wilkes, an interim coach at the end of last year.
Right.
So he definitely doesn't want to get off to a slow start. And this is a moment where you got to start to show a little bit of something.
Yeah.
Nobody expects greatness with a rookie quarterback, but at the same time, you don't get hired to go 0-5 after the interim coach is doing pretty well.
And we know how short the leashes are on head coaches in this league anyway. So, like you said, Frank Wright will be pulling out all the stops to start getting his team in the win column for sure.
Yeah. Especially with the guy you drafted #1 overall, where you traded up DJ Moore, and we're talking about you not taking deep shots.
Right.
Maybe DJ Moore could have changed that. So that quarterback-coach combo is very important. But really, this game for me, watching the progression of Bryce Young, especially because his Detroit defense has been really good, watching the excitement that Jameson Williams brings, and seeing if the Lions just continue taking that step to maybe being top 4 in the NFC up there in the conversation with the Eagles, 49ers, Cowboys. Yeah. All right. We've got the surprising 2-2 Houston Texans.
Yeah.
With C.J. Stroud looking really good. Heading to Atlanta to play the Falcons, who had a little bit of a rough game over in London. We've got the Falcons as 1.5-point favorites, and the line over under 41.5. So, Gage, what are your first thoughts?
Like this game, like this spot. I think this is going to be a pretty heavy play for me here with the Falcons. I like, as we mentioned last week, Desmond Ridder coming back home. I like them going against a young team that's kind of overperforming. I think you're getting a little bit of an overreaction on the Texans here and a little bit of an overreaction on the Falcons as well. I think just off the top of my head, I would kind of have this as a 3.5, maybe 3-point favorite for the Falcons. So I feel like we're getting a solid number there with the 1.5. With that being the case, I probably would play money line. I may play money line here early in the week. Just go ahead and knock that out. I think Atlanta wins this game. But I do like what we're seeing from the Texans. I think their offense is looking pretty crisp. Their defense is nice. D'Amico Ryans is a good coach.
Really good. Yeah.
I like I like what they're doing, but I do think Atlanta, and a huge game for them to try to stay in contention in this division. I think they get the job done.
Completely agree. We'll keep banging on the drum. Desmond Ridder wins games at home, loses games on the road. Really important game for him because there's a lot of criticism because you're still seeing Bijan Robinson doing crazy things, whether you're watching the regular version or the Toy Story in Eddie's room. Still making people look crazy.
Yeah.
But definitely like the Falcons here, even though, as you mentioned, I've kind of been on the Texans run, kind of been excited about that. I did pick them 1 week too early when I had them money line against the Colts.
Yeah.
But like both teams, love what we see from Stroud. It's time to see a really good game from Desmond Ridder here.
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned money line because we definitely, 2 weeks ago, we took the pack on the -1.5 or whatever against the Saints, and we should have taken money line. But definitely love Falcons here.
Yeah, we'd like to see Pitts get involved. We always, it's been 2 years now where Kyle Pitts has been underutilized. Maybe get him involved. Take a little bit of the burden off of Bijan. Like you said, we'd like to see Ritter play a good game here, but I think we lock in Falcons money line early in this week.
I would love to see Drake London score again. It was cool seeing London score in London, so maybe that gets it rolling for him. But a lot more important game for the Falcons here. Yeah. You kind of need to right the ship, especially going back home. You need to quell a lot of the doubts about Desmond Ritter.
Yeah.
So, like Falcons money line, same boat as you. Yeah. And we've got an AFC South divisional matchup. We have the Tennessee Titans going into Indy to play the Colts, who have been surprisingly better than expected. This is basically a pick 'em. I think it's down the Colts -0.5, but essentially a pick 'em, playing money line either way. And total over under 42. So, Gage, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, we know I'm a Titans guy. I feel like I can cap the Titans pretty well. This is another little bit of an interesting spot here. We love the way that they bounced back last week and had a pretty dominant performance. Derrick Henry getting back rolling, patented stiff arm back on the loose. Breaking a few big runs, just looking. I love Derrick Henry. His acceleration at that size, the way he can really get moving. Love watching that guy play football.
Just a big bowling ball making everybody look like pens, just knocking everybody down.
He's so fast. Like every time I see him getting a full sprint, I'm like, this guy has no business running like this. It's just couldn't imagine trying to tackle that guy.
And we saw the passing touchdown last week, which he moves to like 7 for 8 in his career passing the ball.
Yeah, it's honestly starting to become a little bit of a staple in that offense. We're down there by the goal line. You got to watch out for that. And then impressive performance last week by the Colts, even though they come up short to get that 23-point comeback. Losing in overtime, which stinks. That's a pretty tough Rams squad right now, playing a lot better than what people were expecting. But Anthony Richardson really looking solid.
Got to admit it, I was not high on Anthony Richardson, and like I said, looks really good. A little bit worried about him staying in games. Glad to see him run through a full game since he left week 1 early, left week 2 early, missed week 3. Don't want to see that for a young quarterback. So even though he is super athletic, big, strong, definitely want to see him play these full games.
Right. Yeah, it definitely wasn't on the Anthony Richardson preseason hype either. But glad to see him perform. I love seeing the young guys play well. He's so athletic. That's the thing. He's making these plays that I thought at Florida he was making because it's a college level, but now he's doing it, in the pros, and it's really impressive. So with a guy like that, you feel like you're never out of a game. So this game is going to be almost a little bit of a no play for me. Maybe a lean into the under a little bit here. Don't see either one of these teams going crazy. And what's the number at?
42. Been 41 and a half most of the time, and you're actually getting 42.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, this for me is going to be a full unit underplay. Love divisional matchups going under, especially when I get that key number of 41.
Yeah.
And then actually when the lines were a little bit different earlier in the week, we had Titans +1 and we had Lions only -8.5. Actually went ahead and took a 6-point teaser. Lions -2.5, Titans +8.
Right.
Once again, divisional spot, under 42 points. You feel like the 8 covers a lot, or the 7 and 8 covers a lot of different points.
For sure. Like you said, not so many combinations of scores that you can even have when the total's that low. So love keeping that within the one score. And then honestly, like we said, leading into this game being a little bit low scoring and like that under as well.
And also, this could be a game for a team to take the division lead.
Yeah.
Because you've got the Jags playing the Bills, and then you have the Texans playing the Falcons, which we have in this video as well. You can see which way we're leaning in that. So this could end up being the division leader through 5 weeks.
Right. Which is, especially with the Colts, a team that we were not expecting to see that out of. So, the Titans, a team that is always there doing this. A young and fresh Colts team looking to make a stand here. So, really, really interesting game here.
All right. One of our 4 o'clock window games.
Good game.
And kind of love where the Rams have been. So we've got the Eagles heading into LA to play the Rams.
Yeah.
This line's 4.5 points. The Eagles are favored. And then we actually have a total of 50.5, which kind of feels high, but the Rams offenses look really good, and we just saw that high-scoring game from the Eagles and Commanders. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, 50.5 definitely seems a little high here. Right off initially, honestly, might lean under there. Maybe not with as much as Rams throw the ball, so I'll maybe check in later on the week in that. But this is a really fun game. The Eagles, as much as I hate to say it, still look like one of the best teams in football. I thought they were going to take that step back, and they really haven't. They've having some communication issues with the new coaching staff in here, but they're still finding a way to win football games. They're a really good team in crunch time. They're a really good team when in the red zone. These critical play situations, 4th and 1s. Offensively and defensively, it seems like the Eagles are just
every time they need a play, they have one.
It's the way they've been for 2 or 3 years now. It's a testament to Jalen Hurts. It's a testament to this offensive line. I didn't like Sirianni, but it's a testament to this guy. They really play as solid as football as almost you're gonna find. The roster is just from top to bottom extremely, extremely stacked. But at the same time, they've been playing a lot of close games, and I like this Rams team. And you just don't know how long the Eagles can really keep hanging on the edge like this. They're winning all their games. At some point, they're due for a little bit of a letdown, so I do like the Rams with 4.5 points here at home. I think that's a pretty good cover spot for them. But like I said, it's going to be tough. Philly's so good. I could definitely see Philly winning this game. But I do like to see Philly winning this game probably by a late field goal.
So 2 things I want to hit on that you were talking about. Philly is 3-0 in one-score games, and unless you're the fluke Vikings last year, that doesn't hold up. When we saw them go 11-0, but we've seen that regression hit.
Right.
So in a one-score league, like I said, eventually the ball doesn't bounce your way. And the Rams have been really fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, Stafford slinging it, Puka looking good, Tutu looking good.
Yeah. Kyron Williams.
I really don't hate anybody that's on the Rams here.
Yeah, the Rams are honestly fantasy managers are in love with the Rams this year because you could have gotten Nakua and you could have gotten Kyron Williams both off of the waiver wire, and some maybe even after week 1.
Yep.
Guys that are really making the huge impacts for this team.
And then other things to kind of look at, like even with Cup coming back soon.
Yeah.
Puka's been winning on the outside.
Yeah.
And we know Cup loves to dominate in the slot.
Right.
So that could even just be a bonus instead of like really eating into the targets.
Right.
And then the other thing is, I don't see them slowing down a ton. The reason I lean Eagles in this game actually is because the run defense for the Rams hadn't been great. Yeah. Which is a little bit shocking because you got Aaron Donald that can eat up 2-3 blockers. You're scheming for Aaron Donald like what teams are having to do against Myles Garrett, where you're watching the 2 players go back and forth trying to block him. But that Eagles run offense is crazy, and I think they'll be able to double Donald and get to the second level and play pretty well.
Now, I can't say this for certain, but you mentioning that makes me feel like that has to do with the Rams throwing the football so much. I feel like they're making these games last a lot longer, and then with throwing the football so much, you probably go 3 and out and keep that defense out there. So maybe this week they need a game plan to run the football a little more, keep that patented Eagles offense off the field, because if they get the ball, they're going to hold it for 5 or 6 minutes at a time anyway.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown looking ridiculous, Devontae Smith looking good. That offense is just clicking, so they might want to keep those guys off the field. Maybe try to keep Stafford under 50 throws, I'd say. I wanted to say under 40, but I don't even know if that's possible for those guys. But I do lean Rams at home to keep this game close. I think I would play that.
And I'm gonna flip, and I'm gonna go Eagles -6 or better. What scares me is we've already seen McVay kind of know the spread, kick a field goal with no time left. But really can't blame anybody on either side here. I love that we finally saw a breakout game from A.J. Brown last week. And I really like this Eagles team because the one big spot they had, like the weakness they had last year, was that run defense.
Right.
Jalen Carter is eating everything up.
Right.
Like he is making such a big difference.
Right.
Which you definitely wonder how he dropped so far in the draft when he's making this kind of a difference.
Yeah.
But for the Eagles, I mean, I know their fans are loving it.
Yeah, and you know the Tease the League boys don't. As much as we're on the same page, you don't see us different on games too much. So make sure you keep an eye on this one and see who gets to have a little bit of pride going into next week.
Oh, you know there'll be a little bit of bragging rights on next week's pod, and let's just say the Eagles haven't let me down much in the bragging rights department.